Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another premiere draft of Murders at Karlov Manor. Without further ado, let's get into our Pack 1 Pick 1 here, and there's two main options competing. The one that I'm leaning towards right now is War Leader's Call, which is a phenomenal rare. It does tie us into one specific strategy, but that is the strongest strategy in the format, if it manages to be open for us. That's a Boros aggro deck. You get a lot of value off this card in that kind of strategy because you have plenty of cards that make multiple creatures off of just one spell. So you're buffing multiple creatures with this and you're dealing extra damage to your opponent, which is incredible. Now, the second best option is probably Case of the Gateway Express here, because it's a really nice case for any aggressive white deck. So this can go white-blue, white-red, white-green, white-black, which is a lot more flexible than just specifically red-white. But I think War Leader's Call is a strong enough card to still take that Pack 1, Pick 1. And here we have a Shock or an Inside Source to follow that up. But we could also take a Hide in Plain Sight, which is honestly just as strong as War Leader's Call, just for a definitely very different deck since it is a green spell. So if we take Hide in Plain Sight, that makes it so if Boros is open and we get to go for it, we've got an incredible rare leading the deck. And if it isn't, we get to play some kind of green deck with an incredible rare leading that deck instead. So I think we take the Hide in Plain Sight here to hedge our bets and being able to go either way, rather than immediately forcing taking the Inside Source, which I would take over the Shock because of how well this plays with our Pack 1 Pick 1, our War Leader's Call. But both of these cards would be incredible picks for just forcing Boros. But let's take the Hide in Plain Sight, and now whatever we end up getting past, we have a really strong start towards. And here, since the only thing for Boros is a red herring, we'll probably take a Flourishing Bloomkin towards green. Very solid value play in that deck later in the game when you can flip it up for 5. Grab 2 lands, put 1 into play, 1 into your hand, and have a nice beefy, usually around a 4/4 if you're a 2-color deck. So we'll take the Flourishing Bloomkin here and be pretty happy with that. The main card competing is Red Herring because while it's not a very good 2-drop, it is a 2-drop and you need 2-mana aggressive creatures for your aggressive decks if we do go Boros, so that'd be an option there. There is a case of the Locked Hothouse, which can completely win the game if it stalls out and you can get to 7 lands. But you do have to do a lot of work to get yourself in that position to where you are in a grindy game because of how many good go wide kind of aggro decks are in this format, specifically with white and, white-red decks like off the War Leader's Call. So Hide in Plain Sight into Flourishing Bloomkin into a Killer Among Us is an incredible start towards green, and it is unlikely we end up in the War Leader's Call direction here, but we're perfectly fine with that when all 3 of our first green picks have been premium cards that are worth taking Pack 1 Pick 1. So Killer Among Us, basically 5 mana for a 4/4 and 2 1/1s. Just a very good card, and the only Boros cards here are solid combat tricks, but they're certainly not super high picks. So a Killer Among Us it is, and there's other great green cards here, mainly Loxodon Eavesdropper, 4 mana 3/3 that gives you a clue token. That's just a great stat line. Make sure you get a 2-for-1 off of that card draw. But the Ambusher's decent too. A bunch of good green in that pack. Alright, this is a little awkward because now there's no good green. Laid to Rest and Slime Against Humanity are basically unplayable. But there's an incredible Boros card with Dogwalker. So that's a little bit weird. I think we're still pretty unlikely to be Boros with the way our last few picks have gone of 3 incredible green cards getting passed in a row. But I think it's still worth the Dogwalker speculation, because I don't think that Exit Specialist or Out Cold, which are the best non-Boros cards in this pack, I don't think either of these are particularly good in any green deck anyway, so we'll still just speculate here. Alright, pick number 6. We've got a Fanatical Strength, which is fine for a green deck that has a lot of cheap creatures. It's a really nice combat trick when the combat gets some more damage through. Feel like that's better than going off color here for a really mediocre Boros 2-drop, or, just some random disguise card. I don't love these blue spells yet again. I'll just take Fanatical Strength. Pick number 7. I mean, it's all blue spells here, but they're all pretty bad, unless, Curious Inquiry can be good if you have a bunch of cheap flyers and unblockable creatures, but we're not really going to in a green-blue deck. Yeah, I don't think any of these cards are likely to make the cut in anything we play. Maybe Fairy Snoop gets to make the cutoff for green-black or green-blue as fine filler. It's the most flexible card here. Sure. Pick number 8, there's a Murder towards green-black. There's a Sanitation Automaton, which is really mediocre, but it fits into literally any deck, thanks to the fact that it's colorless. So whatever happens from here, we get to play that in our deck. Take Out Cold, which is a really good tempo kind of card. Again, don't think it's incredible for green-blue. I mean, it's so pushed, it's probably still good there. I'll actually take Out Cold. All right, pick 9, Furtive Courier is a pretty big sign towards blue, and we have been seeing a lot of blue cards. I just don't think there have been a lot of ones that are good for, like, green-blue specifically. Furtive Courier is just a good enough card in general. It's going to be good in any blue deck. 3 mana, 3/2, every time it attacks, draw a card, discard a card. If you manage to crack some clue tokens with it, you can make sure it's unblockable so they don't kill it, and you keep your card filtering going. So I'll take that. Now we'll take filler Boros stuff. Unauthorized Exit, pick 11, is pretty nice. I think this is a good card for the defensive speed of your deck, making sure you have some 2-mana plays that do impact the board in some way. Even if it's entirely defensively, it's entirely at just slowing your opponent down. It's kind of what you need to do when you aren't super aggressive, just in case. And a last pick, Out Cold. Yeah, I would say that with the way that the first half of the pack went and then the second half of the pack went, the best colors to be in here are likely green-blue, with the first half giving a bunch of great green cards and the second half showing us a bunch of blue stuff wheeling around the draft pod. So for pack 2, pick 1, take a Topiary Panther to let us do some splashing if we find stuff that's worth splashing in. Take a Furtive Courier, which is just guaranteed to be quite solid. I think I just take another Furtive Courier here over the Topiary Panther. But I think Panther would be a reasonable option too. But Courier it'll be for me. Pack 2, pick 2. Cold Case Cracker, Reasonable Doubts, and Culvert Ambusher are all solid cards. Kind of like Reasonable Doubt, again, for that defensive speed, making sure we have something to do. At 2 mana to slow our opponent down and buy us some time. Just a 2 mana counterspell here if we're not going to have a lot of 2 mana creatures. Just countering a 2-drop or a 3-drop will prolong the game for us, which is what we need to be doing here. I'm going to take Reasonable Doubt. Pick 3. Alright, well now there's just an Undercover Crocodile. I think we just take a Makeshift Binding here. I mean, that's certainly worth a splash in green-blue. Shouldn't be super hard to find fixing because we have access to any colorless fixing in the draft pod as well as green-based fixing. So Makeshift Binding is a good enough card to just take that here, rather than a third Out Cold or first Crocodile. This pack's pretty weak in general. The best card is definitely just On the Job for Boros aggro, but everything else is not the greatest. They're just like filler cards for their respective strategies. Yeah, On the Job and Makeshift Binding are the best cards. We'll just take the Makeshift Binding. Pick 4. Alright, well, it's going to be one of those draft pods, isn't it? Where the first pack is just a bunch of green-blue and the second pack's a bunch of Boros. But because of who's passing to us, because of the way that the packs go, the third pack is much more likely to look like the first pack, where we get a bunch of green-blue again. I don't think I'm playing another Fanatical Strength. I don't think I'm playing a Bubble Smuggler. I'm just going to take an Inside Source here, add it to that Boros pile. Perimeter Enforcer goes into the Boros pile, or Crime Stopper Sprite goes towards the green-blue. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Boros. We're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Simic. It's definitely too late to pivot back and forth between these two, but if we go green-blue, we go green-blue and splash in some of the white. Probably supposed to take Crime Stopper Sprite, but I'm going to take the Enforcer. Okay, now we just have to take Forensic Researcher. The only Boros card here is like Dronesmith, which is quite mediocre, without some additional synergy for it. And Researcher is like really good for a blue-green kind of deck. Pick 7, another Perimeter Enforcer. Well, maybe we splash green? And I've got 4 green cards. And then we get to play Inside Source and 2 Perimeter Enforcers on curve and go Blue-White Detectives here. Get a lot more value out of the outcolds for tempo. This is kind of weird, but a pick 8 Market Watch Phantom now. It's also a pick 8 Greenbelt Radical, but maybe Blue-White Detective pivot here. Gives us our Makeshift Binding, gives us our Dogwalker as well. Just use that as a 5-drop creature. Then these 3 are the only red cards we're not playing. I actually think Blue-White Detectives, with the way this pack has gone, looks better than our green-blue deck was going to look. And these are all the cuts. 2 of which are really worth splashing. Hide in Plain Sight and a Killer Among Us if we can find colorless fixing. Alright, this is kind of interesting. This might be worth it. Yeah, pick 10, No More Lies. Super reasonable 2-mana counterspell. I guess it's not as reasonable as Reasonable Doubt, but it's pretty good. Call a Surprise Witness, probably not the greatest. We need a really high count of 2 and 3 mana creatures for that, but maybe we'll get there. Take a Snuffler, which is super filler. Auspicious Arrival is actually a good combat trick. I do not hate that. Alright, pack 3. Pick number 1. What do we have here? We've got Enzrag the Quake Mole, which is going to try to buck us off of what we're doing again and try to be green based, so like green, white, splash blue and red, or green, blue, splash white and red. I don't think we do that. I think we just fully commit at this point and accept our blue-white detective's home that we have built, taking a Cold Case Cracker for a very reasonably costed flyer with the great creature type to go with the double enforcer. Yeah, I'm just going to lock in here and take that Cold Case Cracker. Pack 3, pick 2. I'd love another Market Watch Phantom, but I actually really like Projector Inspector for blue-white detective stuff as well. I'd love to have both of these, but that is quite unlikely. I don't think either of these is super likely to come back, but we did get like a pick 8 Market Watch Phantom last pack. So maybe. Got a couple counterspells to hold up at 2 mana, so we're doing okay on 2 mana plays to go for the Inspector over the Phantom. I'm gonna go for it. I really like the card selection this gives us. Pack 3, pick 3, there's a 2-mana detective, which is fine. Seasoned Consultant, sure. Could also just try to flip up a Gadget Technician, but I'll take the detective here. Alright, pick 4, Private Eye, there you go. Definitely found an open path, an open place to be. This has been an interesting draft. There's been a lot of bouncing around here, but we're at 22 playables now after this Private Eye, so we've firmly landed a reasonable spot to be where we're not going to have to play too much filler. If I get just a few more playables here, we can start cutting the stuff like the Snuffler and the Due Diligence. I think that's it for like really bad filler. Yeah, everything else is decent filler or better, I would say. So definitely grab a Private Eye. What's our creature count looking like? 13, and we want to cut a Magnetic Snuffler, so I'll grab another creature of Projector Inspector over the Unauthorized Exit. Be pretty happy with that. Pick number 6. This is gonna be another kind of mediocre filler creature, but we want to up that creature count a little bit, so happy to take a Griffnaut Tracker and cut this Due Diligence. I think that's fine. Ooh, I'm really happy to take a pick 7 Granite Witness. This card is premium for blue-white detectives decks. Really good when you're trying to win a long kind of grindy tempo game where you're bouncing their stuff, tapping it down, because it just consistently hits them for 3 a turn, and it can do some tricky stuff when you are disguising it and then flipping it up later. Pick 8. I don't love the Jaded Analyst, but it does give you some defensive speed. I don't think On the Job looks particularly great in here. We do have 1 Inside Source, 1 Dogwalker, so it's not unplayable. Yeah. Maybe I dislike Jaded Analyst enough to take On the Job over it. Now we take a Dramatic Accusation. Give us 1 more targeted removal spell if we really need it. We did get a pick 10 Market Watch Phantom, alright. Wield the Phantom again, pretty happy with that one. Grab a Thinking Cap that will probably get cut. That was the worst card in our last blue-white detectives deck, so All right, last pick, Unauthorized Exit, that I think actually makes the cut in this deck. Pretty solid home to have found at the end of this draft. It does mean we're not playing any of the rares we ended up drafting, which is a little awkward. But this is a nice, synergistic, solid pile of tempo cards here. All right, so we are on 45 cards right now. 16 creatures, 12 non-creatures. We don't need as many creatures in the Blue-White Detectives kind of tempo builds as we do in like Boros aggro stuff, so we can cut a creature or two if we want to get some of our mediocre stuff out of here. First and foremost, cards that are just always mediocre. Griffknot Tracker's a little small for the mana cost, the enter the battlefield effect. Does not impact things really too much in most games, so that's the weakest of our 4 mana flyers here. For 3 mana stuff, we might cut. This triggers when you've sacked an artifact. I don't know if we have enough clues to actually make the Furtive Courier that good here. If you can never give it unblockable, it's actually kind of rough because it does trade into disguise cards, which is a problem. So Furtive Courier might be our worst 3-drop. I mean, maybe Forensic Researcher as well, because we're not really ramping into anything with the untap ability. It's still like a decently flexible card, but it is kind of slow. For this sort of deck, so not insane with our synergy. We still want these nice little flying 2-drop detectives. Those are great. Seasoned Consultant is another card that's just always kind of awkward. Unless you're just the most insane go wide aggro deck in the universe, to where you can always trigger this. A 1/3 body's just kind of loose there. So those are all the most mediocre creatures here. Tracker and Consultant, just kind of always mediocre. The Forensic Researcher and Furtive Courier, really good in the right deck, but they don't look like this is the right deck to really make the best use out of either of these cards, especially because we do have 2 Projector Inspectors kind of filling that Furtive Courier role of giving us that card selection, but they do it just like immediately, just by hitting the board, just by playing other creatures we're doing it. We don't have to consistently get attacks in to get that going, so I think Inspectors are just better than Couriers here, and again, we've got a lot of 3s, so maybe cut some 3s there. So these are the options for creatures to cut. I don't want to cut too many, because I still would like 13 or more ideally here. I mean, our last blue-white deck was 13 creatures, and that felt a little low, but it was still enough. We still got there. So I don't want to cut too many creatures here, so let's check out the non-creature spells now, like Thinking Cap. I think I'm just gonna, well, maybe not. In a vacuum, again, one of the more mediocre cards. It's just a dirty little equipment. Even if it was like 0 mana to equip, it's just kind of whatever. It might not be worth a card. Like, if you are in a position where your opponent has a wide board and you have like 1 creature on board and you draw into an equipment like this, it's really, really bad. So you have to have plenty of creatures to support it to be pretty happy with it. But in the right position, it is nice. Throwing this onto any of our flyers, in particular our Perimeter Enforcers, is where it's going to be really nice. Throw it on a Flying Lifelinker. I do think it's probably going to get cut here, but it is better in this deck than it has been in most of our other detective decks because we have multiple Perimeter Enforcers to work with it. But that's one of the first non-creature spells that comes to mind for a potential cut. Call a Surprise Witness. Also a potential cut here, because the card is pretty narrow. Your opponent has to have traded off with some of your early creatures or used removal on them for this to do anything. There are games that we'll have where both players are just kind of attacking past each other and never trading, and then this is a complete dead card in your hand that does absolutely nothing. Now, we can get around that a little bit in our deck with Projector Inspectors to draw a card, discard a card, and then maybe Call a Surprise Witness, something we discarded to that. So maybe, again, a little better than usual, but it is one of the other cards I'd usually cut first, and I'd cut pretty quickly. Dramatic Accusation's just not great removal. It's not shutting off any abilities. It's keeping the card on the board until you do double blue on it as well, so it's 5 mana total to actually clear the card out. And then On the Job, we're already kind of a low creature count for it, with only 2 cards in the deck that make multiple creatures. And we're also about to cut another creature too, so I think On the Job is kind of just not for this deck either. So, gonna cut 5 cards, some combination of these and maybe 1 land, but do like making sure that I have all the mana I need to play a couple spells in one turn. We have 2 Inspectors to dig through Flood, discard lands to draw non-lands in the late game. These can surveil lands away at the right time. Got some clue tokens to crack when we're flooding out and we've got extra mana. I do not think I'm cutting a 17th land here. So let's just make our 5 cuts. I'm going to cut the Thinking Cap and the On the Job for sure. And then weirdly, I think I'm going to cut the kind of off synergy cards here. Like, they're decent, but they're some of the most awkward cards on our mana curve. And again, we don't have a lot of great ways to use them in this deck. The Forensic Researcher and the Double Courier. So I'm going to run the more generally mediocre cards just because they fit better on the curve. And I actually do think this deck likes flyers quite a lot with that Griffknot tracker in the sky. So do this, run 17 lands, and call it a deck here. Alright, here's like our final deck list for today. It's another nice little blue-white detectives tempo deck where we're going to curve out with some nice cheap detective creatures, a lot of which are evasive, like Market Watch Phantoms and Perimeter Enforcers to get in the sky, as well as these 4-drop flyers to keep getting past our opponent's board state. And then once we have curved out with a nice aggressive group of detectives, we are going to slow our opponent down with a bunch of tempo plays, try to counter their big late game bombs with Reasonable Doubt and No More Lies, slow down all the creatures on board, stunning things with Out Cold, and bouncing things with Unauthorized Exit. Also got a couple pieces of hard removal with Makeshift Binding and Dramatic Accusation for big spooky creatures that have resolved, and we've got one little combat trick here to spice up combat for us, and a Call a Surprise Witness to bring back, hopefully, a really important creature if they manage to clear out a Perimeter Enforcer or a Private Eye or something that's really important to our game plan. Then getting one back with Call a Surprise Witness should be pretty sweet. So that is our deck for today. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game number 1 with a super keepable hand. We've got 2 great cheap creatures in the Auspicious Arrival to make sure they win combat when they do end up getting blocks later. Our opponent starts with the Hedge Maze. We get 2 damage in either way that I sequence these two, so I'll get the 2 damage in and gain a couple points of life when I do so. Like, unless our opponent plays a 2-mana 1/3 Reach, that's the one card I could think of that would block well here, but there's no like 2-mana 2/2 flyer or something. Oh boy, Lasolve this early in the game? Exile a card from a grave, then investigate? Yeah, that's one of the really cheap, absurd value engine kind of rares. Now I wish I played Phantom first so I could attempt to Auspicious Arrival this on attacks. Every single turn this thing sticks around, they get a clue. So they basically draw a card every time it attacks. That is really not cool. I think to the point that I have to just unauthorized exit it. Do I do it while they're tapped out to play around a counterspell? Or just do it when they go to combat so that maybe they'll play something main phase 1? I think I'm going to do it when they go to combat. Might tap out of the Lasolve mana going for something main phase 1 here. Probably not, but I think it's worth a shot here. Worth the risk of getting countered from a 3-color green-based deck. I don't think it's that likely they have Reasonable Doubt this early. Although they may be blue-black splashing the green, in which case they could very well have the counters, because we did see an island get milled here, so we don't know if green's the splash. It's starting to look more likely. That's 3 blue sources we've seen so far already. They've got excellent mana over there. Yeah, recast Lasolve now. Hey, there we go, Dramatic Accusation. If they have a green way to blow up this enchantment, they're still going to get Lasolve value, but if they don't, then we make sure they don't get a single clue token off of that. So I'm going to go for it here. I guess if they have their own unauthorized exit to put Lasolve back in their hand, that would work too. That'd be kind of annoying. There's actually quite a few cards they could have here, when you think of it that way. I don't think there's actually a lot of green cards that would blow up an enchantment this cheap. The main one I can think of is like 6 mana. You flip up the 5/5 destroy an artifact or enchantment. So I'll play around that here and make sure that I have double blue up to where I just play Projector Inspector here, and then I shuffle Resolve back before they can blow up the enchantment. Guess they do need 6 mana to flip up that card specifically, so could have probably still curved out aggressively playing the Market Watch Phantom alongside the Enforcer this turn. But I'm just going to get this shuffle out of the way and get that Lazav out of here. Nervous Gardener is the flip. And they grab an island off of that. Guess I could have shuffled Lazav in while they were tapped out to play around Unauthorized Exit to put Lazav back in hand. There's Forensic Researcher. Oh, yeah, I mean, we're not exactly holding something up by waiting till their turn. Oh, unless I top deck an island. Yeah, unless I top deck an island, they can still just Unauthorized Exit Lazav in response to me doing this. If I wait till my turn now. Okay, yeah, I certainly could have played that out better. We should have just done it while they were tapped out. Alright, Market Watch Phantom. Let's see what we draw off of this. Projector Inspector, putting in some work here. Digging through some lands. As we imagined he would. Ooh, Reasonable Doubt. Gives me a variety of things to hold up here, which is pretty cool. I don't really want to throw an Auspicious Arrival in here on an attack. When we know they've got some kind of instant up here they've been holding on to. I like to wait till I can cast Auspicious Arrival and Reasonable Doubt. Alright, hold a bunch of mana up and pass it is. Okay. I do need one more mana to play around their Reasonable Doubts. I guess, yeah. I'll play this land out, because we've got a Clue to sack coming up. So now we can cast both of these and play around one of their Reasonable Doubts and sack our Clue. Now, if they just have a combat trick here, that's going to work pretty well for them. They seem pretty slow and control-y, though. So not like a super combat trick heavy archetype, but they could still very well have them. I mean, green has plenty that they could choose from. They decided they wanted any in their deck. Uncounterable removal. Well, what can you do about that? Actually devastating too, because it counters the Investigate. Yep, they've got more than enough mana to pay for that. Our opponent just 2-for-1 us twice in a row. Incredibly hard. Now the Researcher can just lock the Market Watch Phantom down. I mean, it's 27 life to 13, but I think our odds of winning are drastically low here. This is the kind of just Sultai value grind deck that wins in the late game if you can't aggro them out early, and we have hit the late game. So they are just 2-for-1ing us turn after turn until our face explodes. And our counter spells are all quite bad at this point in the game as well. Still got another Projector Inspector we could find, so I think I'll hold on to this land. 7 lands left in the deck at this point. And that is not super likely to hit something big. Guess they get our Projector Inspector, worst case scenario. Ooh, they hit an Out Cold, and they hit our other Projector Inspector. Those would have been very good draws. Actually more sad about getting milled than them about spending 6 mana to play a 3 mana card. 6 mana Projector Inspector, let's go. Sick work from Jetsam. I probably should have just countered that. That was probably going to be like my last opportunity to actually counter something with reasonable doubt. I was just clicking through to get past combat, and I did not realize they were casting something. My mind was elsewhere for one moment, and that was long enough. Alright, well, flyers are really good here, so anything I pick up's a big deal, but I think we need to pick up Projector Inspector to filter through the deck. To dig through any land clumps, like so. Let's see how bad I get got for not countering that face down. Could be something massive. Yeah, that was a super bad play. Obviously, it wasn't like an intentional play or anything. I was just kind of zoning out. Just space barring through the turn. I wasn't expecting more spells. Oh, good lord. Mind control number 2, baby. That's 2 for 1, number 5 of the game, something like that. Time to sit here for 20 minutes till we lose. As you do in the late game against the grindy decks. Well, top deck 2 lands in a row against top deck removal means it takes much less than 20 turns to die. Actually, just takes 2. Well, if their face down's at least 3 power. Which I guess it's not. Nice. Alright, well, what can you do? Obviously, we could have countered the face down, but they never even flipped it up, so the only thing that would have changed there is it would have taken... Actually, it wouldn't even have taken 1 more turn to die. We would have taken 4 less damage by now. Oh, it was an exit specialist? That would have been a really good one to counter. But it didn't matter in the end. We would have been at 5 life right now. Would have not taken the last 2 hits from it. And at 5 life, we still just die to this board. So, alright. Predestined outcome there. 0-1 heading into game 2. Here we are for game 2 on the draw this time. Uh-oh, Plains. White-based aggro being super great in the format. I mean, we're a white deck too. Playing against black-white. I want to counter a 3-drop here or start lifelinking. I think I want to start lifelinking. If they do not have cheap removal, like the 2 mana make me sack a creature or something like that. Or the makeshift binding would be worth it, because Enforcer's hard to race. Alright, disguise card it is. We're doing good for now. Okay. This is a little awkward, because this makes me want to just disguise and only hit for 1 this turn, so that I can play Phantom and hold up Reasonable Doubt next turn. Not only that, but I'm holding up the ability to Reasonable Doubt or flip up the Granite Witness, both of which are really nice abilities. There's their own Market Watch Phantom. And slap the Haunch onto one of these things and poke for 4. But they need that mana for something else, it looks like. And it is the flip. Sanguine Savior has gone face up here. Ooh, Private Eye? Like that card a lot, but having 2 mana up is really important right now. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna make sure we have 2 mana up. It's gonna be kind of a long game with flying a lifelinker on each side of the table. Neighborhood Guardian, I can't counter that. I could tax them enough to where they can't equip the Haunch in the same turn. But it looks like they aren't even equipping the Haunch anyway. I'm gonna let this in rather than tapping one of their cards right now, so that I can hold up Reasonable Doubt for main phase 2. They are not going to cast a spell, which means that we are going to flip up at this point. Just going for instant speed removal as their 1 spell here. Can't really play around that. I don't think it's right to just hold the mana and let it go to waste here in the end step. It is Slice from the Shadows. Well, I can't even counter that anyway. Literal uncounterable spell. Which is really good here. Reasonable Doubt has been terrible this time around. It was really good in our last deck, but been egregiously bad here. These first 2 games, these are just not good matchups for it. We would have found 1 counter at the very end of the first game, but it wouldn't have mattered at all. But this game, like the most important spell that's been cast all game, has been uncounterable, and the other most important spells, the double Neighborhood Guardian, have been cast with 3 mana up each time. It's just been really bad. Yeah, now they just have a haunched up Savior. Just gonna sit here both being at 1,000,000 life all game. Alright, Projector Inspector. That actually does work with the Private Eye, so we don't have to do clue token nonsense to get unblockable damage in, which is super sweet. These draws are not super sweet. I would rather hold up the Phantom on blocks than the Private Eye, so send that in. Am I at the point that I have to just trade Enforcer for Savior? Maybe that's pretty annoying. I hit for 6, I go to 16, then they hit for 4, go to... Oh lord, I mean they are outracing us because of the equipment. And the double Neighborhood Guardian, if they play anything. This thing's 3 toughness. Shoot, I think that actually means I just don't hold up blocks, because if they play anything... That's 3 toughness and Enforcer's only going to be 2 power. And I can't counter anything at this point, it's just too expensive. So I don't hold up Enforcer on blocks. Just keep the ground all sorted. Yay, we found a counter. Slightly tempted to suspect my Enforcer. The problem is that then it can't block, which is a big deal. Then if I do decide I'm ever at the point where I need to try to trade for Savior, it's just not going to work. Yeah, I don't think I suspect anybody here. All right, we found a counter with reasonable doubt, just like we would have game one. That actually is a relevant counter because it's kind of terrifying on their board. Give everybody Death Touch lifelink later. They're gaining 4 life a turn right now. No way to draw a card. They can double block kill Projector Inspector, but then I clear out Phantom and a Neighborhood Guardian, which is pretty nice. Yeah, it's the only thing I can really attack with on the ground, and if they draw onto any 2 power or less creature, then I can't block with Enforcer anyway. Sure. I guess it has to be a 2 mana, 3 power less, or a 2 mana, 2 power less creature, because I can tax it unless they have 3 mana up. Are they gonna Audacious Thing me? +2/+2 and get a clue? That's pretty annoying here. We don't have any good blocks against that. Like, I can double block to make sure the Market Watch Phantom actually dies, but then I lose my Private Eye, which is really bad. And obviously, if it is the 2 mana +2/+2 trick, they have the mana to pay for the No More Lies, so... Yeah, I mean, if they have the Audacious Thing, they get me either way, and I don't think they would make this attack without something like that. So I don't think I can afford to block here. That's interesting. Did I actually lose any creatures yet? Nope. Not that actually work with Call a Surprise Witness. Oof. Do I send in the squad to reanimate somebody? That's a real risky move when you're at 8 life. Holding no blockers up just because we want something to die. They can do this even if it's equipped to something. Good lord, this is actually disgusting. With 2 Neighborhood Guardians on board, they have instant speed, make 2 1/1s, give the board +4/+4 wherever. Krovat Hunch double Neighborhood Guardian is actually making combat math an absolute nightmare. So we would actually be attacking in against 2 2/2s and 2 1/1s with +4/+4 wherever they need it. So they just have like a 5/5 and a 2/2 dog on blocks or something like that. I can't counter that because it's an ability, not a spell. And that also makes me extra insanely dead on the crackback if I don't have blocks up. And that makes it so Enforcer's never going to kill Savior because they can instant speed +4/+4 it off of the Haunch with double Guardian. It does lose the +2/+0 when they do that because they sack the Haunch to do it, but yeah, no, double Neighborhood Guardian is just going to town. I think I have to like just do this and just really hope they pop the Haunch to kill Inspector or something. But if they just let it all through, I'm probably dead. 10 life with the Haunch Guardian combo on the crackback. I don't know, we'll see. I'm not seeing much else that we can really do here. Definitely can't really attack any harder or we are massively dead. Land 6 from our opponent. 10-10, but they're about to go back to 14. And we're going to go down to 6. They also have 3 life gain at instant speed with the Haunch. Alright, so they're going to try to cheese out lethal with Krovat Haunch here. That's an interesting way to do it. Pre-blocks. They do it post-blocks. They can just put all the pluses onto whatever gets through. I guess pre-blocks lets them get the Market Watch Phantom into the sky, so that they're not losing a creature here, potentially. Now they're only gaining 2. They'll be at 15, but they have 2 more blockers with the double dog. Yeah, that's the big issue. If I double block a Guardian, then they're going to try to Audacious to kill me. +2/+2 on an unblocked creature, and then I get to counter that. I go to 2 life, and then I just lose anyway. I don't know what else are we really going to do here. Lose 2 creatures, go to 6, and still just die next turn anyway. Yeah. Alright. They could just not have the Audacious thing. I could have just not been realizing the Haunch combo that they would have been trying to do earlier. Now I have 2 flying blockers, which is a shot. They no longer have the Haunch to buff their flyer. Oh, whoa, that is a very real draw. That's a very real draw. Exile their 1 permanent flyer here. And we'll be at 4 life now. Hold the phone. Four life. Go to 7 life when this chips in, which means I think we can afford to send Inspector in. Block, take 2. I mean, if they have like an on the job here, it's going to be real bad, but we're putting them down to 8, trying to flip the tables here. 7 to 8. No equipment on their board anymore to move around. If they don't have basic land into on the job, I can still counter an on the job too. Makeshift Binding, genuinely an incredible draw for us. Likely the best draw in the entire deck. Alright, sneak that flying damage in here. I mean, any detective just kills them now. Because it buffs Perimeter Forcer. 3 power in the sky. Death Touch, Lifelink, Investigate. No More Lies does not counter that. How much damage do I get in if I play Detective now? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 10 out of 11? Dang it. I'm 1 damage off if I hit a Detective. If it's a 1 power Detective, I can get there, but it's not going to be one, so it's not going to trigger Market Watch Phantom. I still just tax them here to tap them out? I don't think so. Okay, that's not okay. Alright, we didn't hit a detective anyway. Oh boy. We're both playing off the top here. They've got a clue though. We can hit for 5 to put them to 6, and we're at 6. So 6 life to 6 life, 2 blockers up. Block the 3, block there, take 1, 2, 3, 4 when I'm at 6 life. They top deck a dog walker or something, we're dead. Inside source, we're dead. But if they play just 1 creature, we're fine, right? I think I need to try to push in for a 2-turn kill. has them dead to any detective. I guess even if I chipped for 2, they're probably still dead to any detective. They'd be at 9 instead, but then Projector Inspector with Private Eye means I make Projector Inspector unblockable and hit for 9 here. Just don't hit a detective. Okay, well now they're definitely dead even with just 1 creature sending in here. The face down. If that's Dogwalker, we might be dead. Okay. Concession from our opponent? And we are 1-1 after a long, hard-fought battle there. It was a Museum Night Watch, which does not help them enough. Yeah, doesn't do anything on the flip. They poke us for 2. Actually, they don't even poke us for 2. They could buff the Phantom, then poke us for 3. But then we just kill them on the crackback. Oh boy. That makeshift binding off the top just perfectly timed. What an incredible card that is. And Call a Surprise Witness helped a lot. Flying Private Eye in there. Wildly close game of Magic, but we did manage to get a victory here, evening things out at 1-1 as we head into Game 3. Here we are for Game 3 on the draw. Consultant into Inside Source is quite the curve, but Perimeter Forcer into Inside Source is a little bit cooler. Or Market Watch Phantom, but we're going to get that lifelink going immediately, as you tend to do. Enforcer into Inside Source into Consultant plus Phantom. Pretty nasty. Alright. Still the exact same curve, basically. Just now we go, what, Enforcer Phantom turn 4? Still playing Inside Source turn 3, curving out here. Nice to get the unauthorized exit to not, like, fully kill a card when we were about to make a token. So nice they didn't get to just unauthorized exit our token. Perma-kill it. Alright, I don't really see a reason to do much pre-combat here when we can hold up No More Lies. Send in, they don't have 5 mana up, so they don't have enough to flip this into like a 3/3 or something that eats a 2/2 for free. Should I hold up No More Lies, or should I just drop 2 creatures here? I feel like I should just drop 2 creatures here. Let's go Perimeter Enforcer first. Play around the counter unless I pay 2, but then we'll go Phantom. Alright. If they've got a shock, they've got a shock. They do not. They've got a face-down Dogwalker. I'm surprised they didn't just trade Dogwalker on blocks there. It's only got 1 toughness, so it's got to trade into something small eventually. That could just mean they're holding up instants there. Ew, Case of the Burning Masks. They kill the Market Watch Phantom over the Perimeter Enforcer? That gives them better attacks. Yeah, that's true. I do think Enforcer's definitely the better card. But that lets them insta-trigger the Case by getting 3 sources to deal damage there. Yeah, that's rough. The 2-for-1 removal. Pretty spicy. Let's trigger the Enforcer here. I feel like it's better to hold up No More Lies than it is to buff something with Inside Source right now. Now we hold up a 2/2 against 1/1 dogs. Maybe should attack with the Inside Source, but I don't really know how good trading the Inside Source for the Dogwalker is, actually, because I've started to come around the later we get in this format to just the value in actually just activating the ability. and buffing your detectives with Inside Source. Boros doesn't care about it that much, but I think at blue-white, like, that's actually a really good ability. It is a great counter for us. That was going to be a 4/4 that also killed our 2/2 token. Pretty nasty card. Alright, if I jam in with Consultant, it's just going to trade for a Dog Walker, which isn't very good, so... Oop. I guess because I've got a 1/3 on blocks, actually I should just be sending in the 2/2. And then if that trades with Dog Walker, then cool. Consultant does get to go for attacks later. Alright, so I mean, they're still doing really good on the card advantage front, but we are favored on board at least, which is nice. But yeah, this case gets to dig for the best card out of their top 3, and they'll cast that this turn. That looks like 2 non-lands. Accusation, Bubble Smuggler. Those are pretty good cards. Accusation could be terrible for them, though, because we have Unauthorized Exit. And they chose Accusation, so we're pretty happy with that. I guess it depends what else is in their hand. If they have their own counterspell, we don't have the mana to pay for it, but if they don't, then this Unauthorized Exit will be incredible. Let's see. Alright. Well, there we go. It's pretty incredible. Basically just counter that. I mean, they still basically stunned our Enforcer for a turn. Now we have to recast it. But certainly not what they were hoping to do with their Accusation. Alright, let's Perimeter Forcer and let's out cold on their turn. Probably in their end step. I'm at 23 life. I don't think I really care if they actually attack here. I don't think I need to tap pre-combat. So let's just see if their board state changes post-combat, like if this is another Dog Walker or something. I'm not going to block, though, because it could always be an Offender at Large or something really bad. It is another Dog Walker. That's certainly annoying. And there's an Innocent Bystander. Okay. Okay. This isn't even that great here, honestly, because I'm not really attacking on the ground anyway. This really doesn't do much. Like, Inside Sourcing up the Perimeter Enforcer every turn is already keeping us ahead here, so I'm just not even going to do it. Find a Granite Witness. 3 to drop, 2 to flip it up. So I can drop this face down and hold up Out Cold or Granite Witness flip. But then obviously I'm not using Inside Source this turn, which looks a little fishy, but... I mean, they see a face down card, they know we can flip that up, so disguises the Out Cold at least. So they can't have like +2/+1 to everybody here, because we haven't seen a single Plains yet. So I still don't think their attacks really matter, and they are just going to pass turns, so... Actually, I'm going to out cold here, because what's kind of awkward is that we want to flip this during our turn. To get the Perimeter Enforcer buff. What'll this get? A Flying Market Watch Phantom? Don't mind if I do. We've got the exact mana we need to do all of these things. So let's do them. Yeah, sure. Phantom. Boom. Inside Source. Boom. They trade this for 3 dogs. I think that's fine. And then Granite Witness untap here. So if they don't trade, we've got the 1/3 blocker against 1/1 attackers. Really good turn for us there. Slaughter the puppies. Cruella de Vil style this game. And there's the concession from our opponent. This is way too much flying for them. And it is lethal evasive damage on board. We are now 2-1 heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4 on the draw. See what our opponent's up to here. What is this? Astrology Mountains? Is that the goat one? I don't know what the goat one is. Capricorn? What is this? I'm so confused and they haven't even cast a spell yet. I don't know anything about astrology. Alright, get ready to get shocked, Perimeter Enforcer. Well, not quite yet. They're going to cycle a Topiary Panther and they're going to find more very confusing lands. So a Sphinx and everything on this plains? Uh-oh, next red source means they might be playing that case that does 3 damage. Ooh, or they're double spelling us with 2 red spells. Goblin Mask Maker into Torch the Witness. That is really efficient. 2 mana, destroy my creature, get a clue. Yikes, that's a real bad start to this game. No other detectives on board yet. Is Private Eye even that exciting? I mean, it's not exciting, but the 3/3 stat line is still pretty solid at just attacking in right now. Yeah, sure, even with that stuff out. Get in there, Private Eye. Then we hardcast a Granite Witness as a 4/3 Flying Vigilance for mana efficiency. Don't hate it at all. I don't think there's too much value to be gained from the flip up right now, so here's our Flying Vigilant threat. Build your own Sarah Angel. Amogus. Blue is sus. It's always the merfolk. Doesn't really matter which one it is. They're going to get exited right out of this game. So we are fine here. This does mean I need to stop attacking with Private Eye because I can't afford to spend unauthorized exit to save it when I want to unauthorized exit their 4/4 killer. So we are just going to jam down a face down poke for 4. Obviously, the more correct way to do this is to post combat the face down, but they're tapped out and I'm lazy. I wonder who the killer is. Oh my god, it was the merfolk all along. Alright, let's get rid of this plains. Yeah, I don't hate drawing a land here, but I guess that lets me Makeshift Binding and flip up Dogwalker, or out cold and flip up Dogwalker. No, that's actually reasonable. I really don't want a 7th land after this, but the 6th is actually valuable. Well, if they never play a flyer, they're very dead. I guess they can just play removal, that works too. So without cold, we're going to be able to investigate for the Private Eye to get in unblockably as well. Yeah, that's 7 damage next turn. Still a 3-turn clock, but I think things are looking pretty nice for us overall. Just a land off the top from our opponent. I mean, that could have been in their hand. They had 2 cards at the start of this turn. I don't have any combat tricks here. It's a little risky to put any of these at risk, but trade a Dogwalker off doesn't feel horrible. Let's see what this face down is. Maybe it's a Crocodile if they get to investigate here. Still holding out cold to just stun any flyers or reach creatures. Oh, it's a Fender at large to just combat trick the heck out of me, whatever I do. Cool. Could go for mana efficiency and out cold right now. But I am not going to do that. I'm just going to Makeshift Binding the 5/4 next turn. Makeshift Binding. Remember when I said I didn't want land 7? That was a lie. This is actually good here, because now I get to play Binding and still hold up the Out Cold for another turn. Said I go for Unblockable Lethal next turn. They have to find specifically removal. No amount of blockers will help them. When I have an Out Cold to stun their flying and reach blockers, and I'll have an unblockable Private Eye sending in alongside the Granite Witness next turn for... Oh, boy. Well, happy to have an Out Cold here. I was going to say for, what, 7 damage next turn? So they are going to get to attack with 4 creatures total if they want. So they'll get to draw the card, but they're not going to get the life drain, so they'll still just die. Yeah, we're good. Just hit the tipster, I guess. I don't know. That should be enough. Now they have no flying blockers next turn, and we have the clue token to give Private Eye unblockable. There's the concession. All right, we are now 3-1, gearing up for at least an average run this time around, but see if we can't get at least one more win, maybe hop into the mythic ranks off this draft. Here we are for game 5, got that turn 2 Perimeter Enforcer like usual. Solid openers all around. Ooh. Just double up the Enforcers and then turn 4 face up Granite Witness. Doesn't seem bad. Playing against another blue-red deck here. We are on the draw here. They are going to deduce in response to the Perimeter Enforcer. It's a nice little draw, too, for pretty cheap. Draw 1 and then draw another off a clue later. I mean, it replaces itself immediately with the draw 1, and then any other artifact synergies they have to use that clue for other means get a lot better too. So it's a really nice card for blue-red specifically. Alright, they do not have the evidence against our Enforcer here. This is kind of weird, but since they played a 2/2 flyer, I just want to attack in and hold up a rival. So I can get in without losing the sprite, which means that I then want to play Granite Witness face down for mana efficiency, so next turn I get to play Enforcer plus Witness and hit harder. Because Witness hits for 3, where Enforcer would have hit for 2. Yep, here we go. Big damage time. Big damage time. The tap and untap doesn't matter here. I'm just doing this pre-combat to have the Granite Witness untapped. I guess I could attack in with both and then flip and untap the Granite Witness because it's cute. But I'd rather have the 3/2 untapped than a second 1/1. And whatever I have untapped is unlikely to block regardless, so... Again, I don't think the flip ability really mattered much there. I guess I could have untapped their Crime Stopper sprite, but that would have been very bad, so that would be the one wrong way to do it. So it mattered a little bit that at least we didn't do it very incorrectly. With these cards in hand, I'm thinking we're holding up tricks. Good block from our opponent, does not give us a bunch of extra life gain like it would have otherwise. We get to counter their investigation here, and they don't have enough evidence when they recast to stun anything yet. But if they play any instants or sorceries before they play the sprite, they will have enough evidence. And that could be pretty bad. So hopefully they don't play anything pre-sprite here, and then we can just tracker away all their evidence. Nice. Forensic Researcher, cool card, but I'm about to delete all of the evidence. Yeah, and do this pre-combat so any of these trade into the sprite. And we get extra damage in. Yeah, we need to hide the evidence. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. Alright, we've got a bunch of creatures. They straight up can't block. We're going to draw another card with this clue. The race is on and it's looking decent. They do have enough evidence to tap one time, so that is something. I make sure we don't kill them in one swing already, even if they don't play anything else this turn. I also don't kill them in one swing unless I play a detective, but now even if I play a detective, they tap down the 3/2, and we hit for 4. Come on, top deck. Ooh, 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 ooh. Actual perfect mana for that. I am so happy this deck has 17 lands. Ready to perma-mute anybody who said we should be on 16? No. Alright, let's poke for 2 and gain 2. Look at that 7th land being super valuable. 5 damage in the sky, so we just make sure we have the out cold up. And slow down enough damage to not die here. I mean, if I put this on the performer, then the researcher can just untap it anyway. So do I just put it on the researcher? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh my god, this is actually kind of scary. I'm just going to put it on performer. If they want to untap that with researcher, then whatever. Then I basically put it on researcher. I mean, if they untap performer with researcher, that looks really suspicious, and I should probably out cold pre-combat. So that gives us a good way to know if they've got like a bunch of combat tricks in hand to try to insta-lethal us here. Okay, that doesn't look to be the case. Take 4. Please no removal. Play as many flying blockers as you want. Yeah, that's 1 flying blocker. Oh, that's 2 because forensic researcher actually. But I can stun both of them without cold at the right time. Yeah. Well, you'd have been really good last turn. If our opponent plays around out cold here, they are a genius. Where they sack a clue and just make a single flyer. But I have to hold up out cold so that when they researcher the satchel, I can tap both to try to go for lethal. Alright, cool. They're not going for the next level mind game. Sick. Lethal it is. We are now 4-1. Guaranteed an above average record. Grabbing, pretty much breaking even here. And we're heading into the mythic ranks with the draft. So really sweet one all around so far. Game 6, let's go. Another game, another double perimeter enforcer start. I don't know what is going on, but the shuffler loves me today. We're actually best buds. Our opponent's starting off with Thundering Falls, milling a Forensic Gadgeteer. That really looks like a blue-red deck to me. Blue-red in the format being focused around a bunch of artifacts, so Forensic Gadgeteer and a blue-red duel. Pretty easy to see what they're quite likely on here. So I go for mana efficiency and drop the 3 mana card and then 2 2-mana cards turn 4. Probably, even though it means hitting a little less hard this turn. It is worth the tempo. Now we have a 4-drop to play turn 4. That's actually, I think, worth playing off curve for then, so that we can Enforcer into Tracker and just go all flying, all damage immediately. Yeah. Thought I was going to be playing just on curve here, going for 2 2-drops on 4, but Tracker means I think we do this and then hit for 4 damage in this guy next turn. and have all flying creatures with an out cold to keep that path clear. It could still be wrong. Maybe we're supposed to still just be mana efficient there. Just tracker turn 5. Candlestick and a bunch of creatures on the ground. The key words, as always, being on the ground. We're just going to jump into the sky and freeze everything in the air. Just got an ice tornado coming in hot. Like a sick Pokemon move. Sheer cold. One hit KO. Let's go. It's a very nice combo. Having an equipment on board to tap for the public thoroughfare means that you don't have to tap another land, and you don't have to tap anything that cares about being tapped. Candlestick can still do everything while tapped. So they could still equip it if they want. They can still sack it if they want. Being tapped or untapped doesn't really change anything about their equipment. Holding 2 mana up here? What are they holding up the counter unless I pay 2? Or something? I'm just holding up 2 out colds. I'm at 23 life here. Like, do I need to hold up 2 out colds, or would I rather just play a consultant? I guess this could be a technician. They flip up and make a 1/1 flyer. So if I play consultant, I play around that and play around the counter unless they pay 2, and we just save the out colds for later. It's the least mana efficient thing I can do here, but I think it's worth it with the triggers we have on board. So kind of an awkward game with how we're spending our mana here. We're definitely not making the most of our mana. I like that consultant just cheering along from the sidelines, summoning sick, but still like, yeah, let's go. I'll get in for 3. Next turn. Alright, our opponent's cracking the candlestick out of desperation. They gotta find some ways to deal with flyers. Either block them, kill them, stun them, anything like that. Perimeter Enforcer showing how broken the card is. We are sitting at 27 life against our opponent at 7. There's a Crime Stopper sprite. Do they have the evidence? They do not, so they don't get to stun, but they do get a blocker here. We can't kill them next turn. I'd have to be able to play a detective and stun their flyer. Dramatic Accusation. Maybe we should be on 18 lands. Actually, a 5th mana is not even that good here. I'd still only play 1 thing. Oh... I imagine this face down's a gadget technician, which means if I out-cold the sprite and the face down, they're still gonna get a 1/1 flyer to block and trade with one of my perimeter enforcers, which isn't great. But I will hit them for 4 and put them to 3, which is still dead in 1 more hit, so it's still good enough. So let's do this. Unless this face down is like a gadget technician and they have a shock, I think we can still definitely find a kill here. If that's the case, this is going to be a nightmare. Their 1/1 Thopter trades with a perimeter enforcer and their shock trades with a Griffknot tracker, and we deal almost no damage here. We deal 1, lose everybody. Even just 1 removal spell is pretty bad. Drop us down to just the enforcers. They've got 2 cards in hand, 7 mana up. Another Crime Stopper sprite. Do they have the evidence yet? Nope. Still no evidence. I'm still chilling. 21 life. That's big chillin'. No, more removal, and that's 3 things being dealt damage. So the case is triggered. Granite Witness is a sick draw, but man, do I wish I had the mana for it. I mean, I've got the mana to play it. Oh, what do I do? Like, yeah, 5 mana would have been so huge. Play it face down, flip it would be the easiest line in the world. But now if I just play it face up, I'm trading into their sprite or I'm holding off for a turn. If I play it face down, we could randomly kill them if they play it out wrong. I'll go for it. Really depends on their draws here. They have 2 draws, one of which is one of their cards out of the top 3, so they get to do some digging here to try to kill the Perimeter Enforcer. But if they stay at 5 life, they don't kill any of our creatures. If they only hold up a single flyer, I flip up the Witness to tap that 1 flyer and hit them for 5. Find the kill. Dang it, that's 3 flyers, and they draw another card here. That one out of the top 2, and they drew something better than Bubble Smuggler. Things are not lining up so hot here. Yep, they are holding up 2 flyers, it looks like. I think I can take 5 to send Consultants in alongside our flyers next turn. Oh my god, yeah. Now a Gadget Technician for a 3rd flyer. There's that mana we've been looking for. Play a Projector Inspector and flip up a face down. That's 2 triggers of Enforcer, making it a 3/3 lifelinker. It's pretty big. Ditch a Dog Walker here, I think. Maybe land 6. I've already played land for turn this turn, and I need 7 to cast both of these. I guess. No, I think it's highly unlikely Dog Walker actually matters. I'm still going to ditch that. Okay. Send in a 3/2 Flying Vigilance and a 3/3 Flying Lifelink. How do we make that attack profitable to us? If I don't want to lose a creature here, I have to tap Crime Stopper Sprite, then they can double block kill the 3/2 Flying Vigilance. Would I drain them for 3 still? Guess that's the best we got. Hold Case Cracker, another flyer. It's pretty sick. Ditch the land there for that option if the game does grind out. Consultant trades into Technician or Dog Walker. Yeah, I probably should have just traded on blocks earlier, actually. Double block on the Granite Witness it is. I think I actually tapped the wrong creature here. If we tapped the 1/4, we would be trading our 3/2 into a 2/2 instead. Yeah, that would have been better. What is that? Oh my god, it's draw 2 and then draw an extra 2 card every single turn? We need just like insta-lethal here, which we would have had with slightly more lands. No, why are they drawing like another flyer every single turn? Well, I guess because they're drawing like another multiple cards a turn. Yeah, now all they have to do is just not attack with flyers for the rest of the game. And that's pretty easy for them to do. Alright, I don't think we're getting there now. Maybe keep Projector Inspector for digging. If I can hit the 7th mana, could out Cold and Dramatic Accusation the same turn, but they're about to draw 3 now. Oh my god. They just keep hitting perfect gas. Now we don't kill them without Cold plus Accusation. So they immediately hit removal for that flyer. They hit Gear Drake? Oh my lord. What I would have given to draw just one land one turn sooner this game, so they would have just been dead by now. This recovery has been insane. These draws are ridiculous. They're just like pulling out the best card from the top 3 every single turn with all this digging. Oh my. Well, this is a really unfortunate game. Maybe there was somewhere I could have found some way to get extra damage in, but it feels like insane draws from our opponent. Ridiculous stabilization. And of course, we're 1 damage off. We hit that mana, but they top decked the removal. And a flyer. What a bummer. My god. Is what it is. 4-2 heading into game 7 then. Here we are for game number 7 on the play. Gotta hit 1 land. That land gives us Projector Inspector to dig for more, and gives us all the mana for literally everything but the out cold. We just only play 1 card a turn, so we will keep here. Looking for 1 basic. Playing against a green deck, immediately hit a land. Green-white it is. And let's roll out with Projector Inspector to start things off. Projector Inspector into Granite Witness for the draw discard. Just the detective curve out. Into Dogwalker turn 5. Play and flip it. Yep, so we ditch land 5 for now. Don't need that till turn 5. That is really annoying. A little 2-2 on the ground. Alright, here's Granite Witness. Because that means we're probably just trading into like the 2-2 that gets them a land or something. Alright, we find land 6. Don't need that. Now Projector Inspector's just doing a great job getting us out of Flood. Griff Knot Tracker. Exile my lands from my grave. Alright, well that means it is time to out cold instead of Dogwalker. So we can keep jamming in. Well, more realistically speaking, so we can start jamming in. Another face down to stop Projector Inspector on the ground. Private Eye makes it so it is no longer stopped. And I can crack the clue. Sure. Crack the clue, so if this is the 2 mana 3-2 that replaces itself with a 2-2 when it dies, we still get in? Oh, actually we already still get in, because this is going to trigger Private Eye. So we ditch Dogwalker now so we can outcold next turn. Dogwalker just consistently getting discarded in this deck. Let's go. Get into the trash, Dogwalker. You're a terrible card. Not good in any deck in this format. Everybody playing Dogwalker, you're wrong. Ew. Granite Witness and non-blue? Come on. All of the hybrid cards are splashable. But you hate to see it. Do I dig again? Is there anything better than binding out gold for her hand? I don't think there is. This is literally, I think, just the best hand in the deck right now. With an opponent at 10 life, like, this hand is really good. Bite down on Crime the Private Eye. That's very rude. That was my bestest card. No more unblockable damage for me. No more buffs for me either. But I can just out-cold their whole board again and send in with everybody. And it depends on their post-combat play, which is probably another creature. And then we don't stun the whole board. Ooh, it's not another creature? Let's stun the whole board. Woo! This is another Granite Witness, and they untap the tracker. Oh, I hate Arena so much, dude. Oh, you look away from the screen and you look back, and you're paying for an ability you don't have to pay for. I'm just trying to move to Combat Arena, not pay for an ability that doesn't need to be paid for. I'm tilted. I'm so tilted. I hate that that goes in the exact same spot that the move to combat button goes to, so now we don't get to crack a clue. Do I poke for one? No, let's tracker and trade the tracker off and then makeshift binding the witness to get in on future turns. Oh, hold up. Hold up. Let me do this first. Good old Arena. I can't respond to my Inspector trigger. If we crack a clue first, then it would be worth inspectoring, but I didn't hit full control fast enough to respond to this trigger in between the tracker and the Inspector trigger. Arena back-to-back. Trying to tilt me on out of this draft today. Like, paper game of Magic, you're just like, okay, I'll play Griffknot Tracker. That's going to put a Projector Inspector trigger on the stack. In response to that trigger, I'm going to draw a card off my clue. Then I'll let the Inspector trigger resolve. Arena's like, what? You're trying to do something in response? No thanks. That's not allowed. You actually clicked spacebar one time, so you don't get to do anything this turn. Come on into my face. Down to 7. Uh-oh. Okay, Market Watch Phantom is actually genuinely scary how close to lethal that's going to get. It's our own Phantom. Please resolve. Thank you. Okay. They have one turn to kill us or kill our Griffknot tracker. Or block it. Well, there you go. They're blocking it. Reach creature is the play. Eight damage on board. We're massively dead to on the job. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's like exactly dead to on the job. If I do this, things are so much better for them if they don't have on the job. But if they do have on the job, we survive and get the chance of killing Sumala Sentry, then killing them on the crackback by top decking removal. Oh, they're over it? I'm guessing that means no on the job, because if they don't have a follow-up play here and I keep the Projector Inspector on board, then they are dead even if we don't top deck removal. And I think the only reason you would concede there is if you have literally nothing in hand. Or they didn't know Sumala Sentry had reach. Because if they had any other creature, they play a creature, they block Inspector and Tracker, and then kill me next turn. But if I can engineer a block here where I don't kill Nightwatch, then I do just kill them attacking back with Inspector Tracker. I'm actually really happy with that concession from our opponent, because I think I probably would have ended up playing around on the job, which would involve them actually getting a 2/2 blocker to where they wouldn't be done on the crackback. But I guess they didn't have it. So, had we had to make a block here, the best block would have been Phantom there, Inspector there. So we keep Inspector and Crackback with both. They only block one, take 3, and die. The way that I'm blocking right now could lose us the game. Yeah, it could have lost us the game here if we didn't top deck removal, if they didn't have the on the job. But again, the alternate block would have lost if they had on the job. Be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, dead. Okay. Actually, really lucky that they conceded there, because I think I would have went through with this block, and then pretty big chance we don't win, because there's not a ton of removal left in the deck. We've got multiple bounce spells, I think. Yeah, we've got no out colds, but we've got the return a non-land permanent to hand that would win us the game that we're looking for. But not a ton, 2 or 3 probably outs. All right, super lucky one, and we are going to be 5-2 heading into game number 8. Here we are for game 8 on the draw. Let's go Projector Inspector into Private Eye, slam in for 4 on turn 4. Playing against a green deck. Triple green turn 3 from them. So heavy green, and this could be that that face down that's is bigger for all your forests or something. If they're this deep into green. Okay, I do need land 4. We probably really want to get to like 5 mana here. With Call a Surprise Witness, it's actually kind of spicy to ditch Private Eye and then Enforcer Call a Surprise Witness next turn. If they play any Graveyard Exile right now, I'm going to be incredibly sad. But if the mono green deck doesn't interact with our grave, then this is going to be an insane turn 4. Obvious no blocks here. Loxodon Eavesdropper, great card. That's going to give them solid blocks here. Actually, no, it's not. Because the Private Eye trigger gives us unblockability. Okay, land 6 we can certainly ditch. Everything left in the hand is going to be blue, so we'll keep the 3rd island. We can draw and discard again. Okay, land 7 we can also ditch. Boop on in, they're down to 16. And now our entire board is unblockable for them right now. And it's beefy if they don't have the, what, +2/+0 shoot somebody removal spell. This hand is looking like an absolute blowout for the mono green deck, because they're not going to have a lot of great ways to interact with flyers. They'll have some reach, but our deck's really good against big, dorky reach creatures. Out cold, unauthorized exit, dramatic accusation, all this kind of stuff. Alright, well, it doesn't look like Inspector gets to attack this turn unless I unauthorized exit or out cold right now. Is it worth it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Getting 9 damage in kind of feels like it. I guess I could accusation and hold up unauthorized exit and still have out cold for later, and then I get to attack. That's good too. I'll do that. Because I don't really care about stunning the 2/2 face down. It's really just stunning the eavesdropper here. So I can save the double stun for later. And have unauthorized exit up. Face down card again. Can't unauthorized exit any of those until they flip up. Which means nothing from unauthorized exit here. That's a perfect draw, because now I can Consultant to trigger the unblock ability and then just attack with everybody holding up an out cold for stopping them from flipping up any flying or reach blockers to survive. Think I ditch the exit, keep the witness, because I'm just going to tap out for out cold this turn. And then face down witness, flip it up is going to be just as good. Yeah, there's the concession from our opponent. We just attack all three, out cold if they do anything. But they couldn't do anything, so we are 6-2, heading into the final boss with this deck. The final round of Magic, win or lose. Alright, here we are on the draw with a really interactive hand for the final game. This will be an interesting one. I think it is still a keep. We get to hold up a No More Lies early, or we just get to bounce something and counter it later. Multiple counters, yeah, full interaction here, but these kind of counterspells are a little better on the draw than on the play, I think, because you get to counter a 3-drop turn 2, which is nice. They're more likely to be trying to actually jam something out on turn 3 than they are on their turn 2, because of all the 3-mana 2/2 disguise cards, so just reasonable downing any 3-mana 2/2 is going to be fine here. And then that's going to curve into our Projector Inspector, since we have drawn some threats now. There we go. Reasonable Doubt, a Crime Stopper Sprites. And get things going here. We will Projector Inspector. And I can play that into the Granite Witness next turn, which means No More Lies is going to be late game for us. Land 5. How important is that? Being able to Binding and hold up No More Lies is kind of nice, but it's not going to be important for another 2 turns, so I think I ditch it. Maybe find one off Granite Witness later with that trigger. More options of what to discard by then. Because, like, our worst case scenario, if we don't hit another land all game, is that we Granite Witness into holding up these 2. Like, we still get to hold up 2 spells, I just don't get to Binding plus No More Lies. Alright, 1/1 removal on Inspector, so we're not going to get the card draw here. Could face up the Witness, or I can play around removal a little bit by playing it face down for the ward. I think I'm going to play it face down. Since it's our only threat left, it's pretty important to protect it here. So we can actually start getting damage in. Uh-oh, Chalk Outline plus Soul Enervation. If they start collecting evidence from the grave, it's going to be really bad for us. So we need to really have interaction for them trying to resolve something that can collect evidence every single turn, like the big Polygraph Orb or something, so No More Lies is going to come in really hot here. Poke for 2 or 3. It's going to be 1 more damage if I flip up right now, so I will save the flexibility of casting both of these if we need to. Alright, opponent probably playing around counterspells. I can't imagine they have, like, literally nothing here. But maybe they do. Maybe it's just, like, all removal. Kind of what we've got going on. We would rather unauthorized exit our own Witness than counter removal at this point in the game. So that we still have a counterspell for if they try to Niv-Mizzet us or something. It's going to be real suspicious, though, because obviously you just recast the Granite Witness if you don't have a counter. It's a big enough deal. That's going to trigger Chalk Outline. That's going to be a 3/3, a 2/2, and a 1/1 flyer, so that's an ETB trigger, so we can't makeshift binding that. Okay, their next card's going to resolve. Okay, it's a 1/3, that's fine. I mean, we're summoning sick anyway, so we might as well have ward. Quintorius. We really need them to not collect evidence. Oh my god. If they collect evidence like one time, the game's pretty over. We probably have to makeshift binding that, actually. Send a message, tap Quintorius. I'd tap that. Unauthorized exit, okay. Well, now we've got a counterspell for their next removal spell. We've got a 6-turn clock, let's go. But now I don't have binding because we got rid of Quintorius. Okay, Crocodile's a big enough deal, we'll have to unauthorized exit it. I don't have to do it yet. I could chump with the dog walker. And then do it. We're probably gonna just bounce it next turn though. When it declares the attack. And they just recast it post-combat. I actually really don't want the Strider to end up in their grave. I guess it's not that bad if it does. They get a 2/2 and drain us for 1 with its ability. Yeah, that's not that bad. Okay, Vitu-Ghazi Inspector is that bad. Can unauthorized exit the creature token instead now, I guess. It's something. Something. God, they get the life gain too. Gain 2, get a +1/+1 counter. They're gonna make Crocodile a 6/6. Oh. Guess I kinda have to bounce Crocodile then. Even though I don't get to permakill something this way. I can trade 2 dogs into a detective. And a 3/2 flyer can attack into a 1/3 reach, so we're already fine there. Yeah. Alright. I guess I could unauthorized exit my makeshift binding and give them Quintorius back, but that seems like a really bad idea because they draw 1 more Vitu-Ghazi Inspector. Well, they're out of evidence, never mind. They're out of evidence, so it might not be horrible. We're gonna have to draw some actual gas at some point here. But we're not actively dying right now. Just gonna pass right on through, cool. They top deck removal here. Or a combat trick to kill the witness. Please no. Stop looking at your card. No. It's not allowed. Do not touch my gargoyle. Oh, good lord. It's removal that also gave them a +1/+1 counter? Yeah. Okay, we desperately need to stop drawing lands. We've only got 4 left out of these 19 cards now. And now we are actively dying because this is a 6/6 that draws them a card every time it hits us. And being a 6/6 means we can't triple block and kill it anymore. We need instant gas. There's a Surveil 2, which can give them instant gas, and if this ends up in their grave, that's going to trigger both these cards, just like the Strider would. I'm actually very surprised the Strider hasn't been attacking here, because that ending up in their grave is just a huge net positive for our opponent. Well, Enforcer's not a land, but it also doesn't do anything against the Inspector. This Crocodile's just gonna take things over real soon. It's actually horrible in this matchup. We don't want to exile creatures from their grave. Whenever one of our creatures leave their grave, it does the thing. Whenever one of our creatures leave their grave, it does the thing. Okay, so I guess it's not that bad, because we just get rid of some evidence to make it a little harder for them to exile future creatures from grave. I guess that is a net positive still, because it's not exiling creatures, so it's not triggering the things. And a 3/2 flyer is a big deal that can attack into the Inspector. Our Enforcer can't block well at all, so let's just gain 2 life off of it, but now the Crocodile gets to go to town. Do I have another Projector Inspector in here? I do. That would be a pretty sick draw. Another Rebel Belt Maverick? Yeah, they're really making sure they don't flood out. Milling any lands they hit with these surveils. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. They've still only hit 9 lands, and that involved tutoring one out. Mill, Chalk Outline, and Savior. That gives them 7 evidence for whatever's in their hand. Well, GG. 2-for-1 removal that also triggers Chalk Outline Soul Innervation. Alright. So close, but no cigar. I think we just hit a far too large land clump early in this game. We're playing against a grindy 5-color deck that drew more cards than us and tutored out a land and still hit 4 more lands than him in the end. Which is just really bad. Naturally puts us super far behind. We had to tempo them out and get a lot more aggressive than this. But we couldn't. We just didn't have enough spells. And that is all there is to this game. Cool deck from our opponent for sure, but real big bummer of draws from us. The icing on the cake. 6-3 will be the final record for this deck. I think this deck was certainly capable of a 7-win run. Would have had to play better, draw better, all of the normal stuff to win some games of Magic. I think the final game of Magic, all we really could have done was draw better, but our second loss, we got them down to 1 life, so there's almost definitely somewhere we could have sneaked in 1 extra point that I missed out on. So I think that second loss was our biggest opportunity to turn this into a 7-win run, so that one, certainly rough. I am certain there's somewhere in there I missed out on a point of damage that could have got us the victory, but a 6-3 run is nothing to scoff at. That's still excellent value, still giving us more than enough gems to go draft again for free, so we take those. I think the deck was great, and it was a really interesting draft this time around, pivoting around a lot, starting potentially going red-white or blue-green, and then just mixing those 2 piles together in the end when we started seeing some really nice blue-white cards like Private Eye and stuff like that. The Perimeter Enforcers, the double Perimeter Enforcer was a big part of this this pivot as well, getting 2 of those in a row towards a detective strategy. Like, those were so important in a lot of our victories, just really good in the aggressive mirror matches. So yeah, really interesting draft. I'm pretty happy with how I drafted for the most part and how I played for the most part, but I'm sure that there were some plays we could have done to get a little bit better, and that's all we would have needed, just find some slight edges, just one extra point of damage here or there could have changed the course of one of those games for certain, maybe even the first loss. It's been long enough, I forgot what happened there. So a 6-3 run it is, probably could have been a 7 win, but still really happy with the draft and the deck itself. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more like this, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.